Hi, I'm Julie Steele with O'Reilly Media, and I'm here with Hadley Wickham of RStudio, and we're hoping to talk a little data viz today.
Sure.
So tell me, first of all, about, I know you're very well known for ggplot and ggplot2, and now there's ggvis. So what is that?
So the goal of ggvis is to basically take ggplot2 on the web and make it interactive and dynamic and sort of do some of this cool stuff that D3 can do, but without having to write 1,000 lines of JavaScript code. And to make it just part of the workflow of a statistician, of a data analyst, of a data scientist.
Speaking of D3, it seems like there's become this like D3, ggplot, and there's processing and there's Tableau, but how do you see the different tools and how they're interacting and whether there's a rivalry or...
So I think it's really useful to think about like two broad camps of graphics, like exploratory graphics, which you're using to gain insight into the data, and then communication graphics, which you're using to help other people understand. So like the New York Times is a great example of what they do is communication graphics, right? If you're gonna reach 100,000 people with a plot, it's worth spending a week on it. But if it's just you looking at their plot and you're just getting a momentary insight and moving on to the next one, then you don't want to spend like more than a few seconds to create it. So I think that's the big tension. Like, do you want something that's really polished and you're willing to spend a lot of time, or do you want something quick and dirty that you can iterate really quickly?
So ggvis aims to be that more polished.
So ggvis is definitely on the exploratory. So ggvis and ggplot2 are definitely on the exploratory side. D3 and Tableau are sort of a bit more on the polished communication side.
Because you see people falling into that real like team one or the other side.
And a lot of it's just like, if that's all you do, if all you do is communicate, then you don't realize that there's people using exploration. If all you're doing is exploration, you don't realize about that side.
Yeah. So is it, I mean, the way you see it, are job functions really so neatly split between exploring and communicating, or should a data visualizer or a designer be doing both?
I think so I guess like data scientists definitely have to do both, right? Because you discover it, and it doesn't matter what you find out about the data unless you can communicate it to someone else. So you're almost always communicating to decision makers within your organization. So those plots, you're not reaching hundreds of thousands of people, but you're reaching like the 3 or 4 most important people in your organization you want to spend some time. I don't think there are many people who all they do is just analyze data and then don't tell anyone about it. But there's definitely people, all they do is like communicate data and make beautiful web graphics and that kind of stuff.
So the web is we're seeing the web become king here, and everything is eventually funneling into JavaScript. So we're D3.js and processing.js, and how does ggvis or whatever will become of ggplot2 fit in with that? So,
I mean, ggvis, there's sort of the R side of it, and then the way it's actually drawn is just a regular HTML page. So it's in browser, it's using HTML, CSS, JavaScript, all that kind of standard stuff. And that's really cool because you can like show it to your boss on their iPad, and it's just like a nice win if you're a data scientist. You can make this stuff that it sort of gives you superpowers. It makes you look really good because you're creating these nice web graphics, and it's just like 5 lines of R code or 10 lines of R code. I mean, that's sort of against my earlier point where I'm arguing that ggvis is more about exploration, but there's definitely that communication side as well. And your exploratory graphics have to have some degree of polish so you can present them and just give a nice artifact to someone who's.
Do you have any ideas about what's next? I mean, we've heard people saying for years the web is dead, blah, 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 but are we shooting for the wrong target by moving everything to JavaScript?
I don't think so. I think the web, like if you're not thinking web, then you should be. I have no idea I mean, the R community is still trying to kind of catch up to the web, let alone think about what's next. But I mean, the whole tool stack, HTML and JavaScript and CSS, it's all just still improving so fast, and there's such competition between the browser makers, and JavaScript's getting faster and faster, and people are getting better at writing in the large in JavaScript and writing fast JavaScript code. I think it's a really exciting ecosystem.
And who do you see, when you talk about the R community, there's some idea out there that mostly comprises people who've come up through a formal statistics background, but do you see people coming into that community from not, backgrounds other than statistics? Or?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, lots of people, like, R is definitely a quirky programming language, but one thing that's really cool is that people can pick it up without much formal training or any formal training and just start creating nice plots and doing little models and exploring their data. And there's sort of people from just anywhere you can imagine are starting to use it and play with it. And that's one of the things that I really like about my job is like talking to these people, like you just have no idea that they're using R. Like, I've talked to like a Danish cheese scientist, like a shrimp farmer in Morocco.
So cool.
It's like an airport planner, like there's Disneyland uses it for queue management.
Wow.
And there's like just, everything you can imagine. And I think R is a little bit unlike other programming languages because most people using it are not a programmer. They don't often attend sort of programming language conferences. They're not on mailing lists. They're not on Stack Overflow. They're not on Twitter. Like they're just, doing their job and using R as part of it.
And we're starting to see a lot of people picking up multiple tools. You got a question at the end of your session today about IPython notebooks and our support for that. And one of the great things about IPython is it lets you use multiple languages and put everything in one place. So are you seeing people getting more interested in using multiple tools together?
Yeah, I think that, there's, I use R for everything, but that's just me, and I recognize in real life people are using Python and R and starting to look at Julia, or they might be using Java. And one thing that I thought was really interesting with the O'Reilly data science survey was just like the one commonality for everyone is like SQL. Like everyone has a second language, and that language is SQL. There's no one doing data science in just one language. And going from 1 to 2 is sort of a big step, but from 2 to 3 is not a big deal. And I think it's nice to be able to pick the right tool for the right job. And some people like me will be specialists in R and Python or Julia or JavaScript, but most people are going to have strengths in one probably main language and dabble in others for things that they're particularly well suited.
If you could have one superpower that you could add to R or add to your toolkit, what would that be? I think like making R super fast. I think there's this happened with JavaScript because people spent like millions and millions of dollars. If the same thing could happen to R, that would be like the icing on the cake. So that would just be really, really cool. Neat. Well, you never know.
Yeah.
Thank you for talking with me today. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.